The once luxurious cruise liner Paradise Jewel drifted aimlessly across the Atlantic, its sundecks and ballrooms eerily silent. Only the groan of waves against the hull broke the stillness, punctuated by the occasional guttural moan from deep within the ship. A group of 7 survivors huddled in the dimly lit galley, their faces pale with exhaustion and terror. Sarah, a marine biologist on vacation, held a makeshift spear fashioned from a mop handle and a steak knife. Her once pristine sundress was now torn and stained with blood, not all of it her own. "The engines are dead, and the radio's useless," muttered Greg, a retired Navy officer, as he stared at the map spread on the countertop. "But we're drifting toward the coast. We've got maybe 12 hours before we hit land, and if we don't stop this thing, the infection goes with us." The infection. It had started 3 days earlier, a bizarre sickness spreading through the passengers like wildfire, fever, convulsions, then death. But death wasn't the end. The infected rose, their eyes clouded and hungry for flesh. "We need to get to the bridge," said Mia, a tech-savvy teenager clutching her tablet. "If I can access the controls, I might be able to steer us away from land." Greg nodded. "The bridge is on deck 9. We're here, on deck 3. That's 6 levels of hell between us and stopping this nightmare." "We don't have a choice," Sarah said firmly. "We go now, or we let this ship become ground zero for a coastal apocalypse." The group moved cautiously, their path illuminated by the flickering emergency lights. The silence was oppressive, broken only by the distant shuffle of undead feet. At the base of the grand staircase, they encountered their first obstacle. A cluster of zombies, still wearing cocktail attire, their jaws slack with anticipation. "Stay close and keep quiet," Greg whispered. They crept along the edge of the room, avoiding broken glass and overturned tables. Sarah's heart pounded as one of the creatures turned its head, nostrils flaring. It let out a guttural shriek, and the others turned in unison. "Run!" Greg shouted. The group bolted, weaving through the dining hall as zombies swarmed behind them. Plates and chairs crashed to the floor, creating a cacophony that seemed to summon even more of the undead. Reaching deck 7, they barricaded themselves in a storage room to catch their breath. Mia pulled out her tablet, her fingers trembling. "If I can find a way into the ship's mainframe, I might be able to trigger the anchor release remotely." "You have 10 minutes, Greg said, pushing a table against the door as the pounding of fists grew louder. As Mia worked, Sarah kept watch. Her spear was ready, her resolve hardened. They had to survive, not just for themselves, but for everyone on shore. The ship groaned as if alive, its sinister journey far from over. In the darkness, hope and dread coiled tightly around them as the cursed cruise surged ever closer to disaster. The pounding at the door intensified, the sound of nails scratching against the metal sending chills down Sarah's spine. The zombies were relentless, their collective groans rising in a horrific chorus. Greg gritted his teeth and tightened his grip on the makeshift barricade. "Mia, we need that anchor deployed now," Greg barked, his voice strained. "I'm almost in." Mia snapped, sweat dripping down her face as she tapped furiously on her tablet. "The system's firewalls are ancient, but it's a mess, like the ship's been hacked before." "Hacked? What does that mean?" Sarah asked, her spear ready. "I don't know yet. Focus on surviving first." Mia shot back. The storage room's single overhead light flickered, and then the ship gave a sudden lurch, nearly throwing everyone off their feet. The zombies outside let out startled moans, momentarily distracted as the motion shifted their balance. "What was that?" asked Carlos, a chef who had joined the group after narrowly escaping the kitchen's undead. "The ship's autopilot," Mia said, her voice trembling. "It's accelerating. Someone, or something, is steering it toward the coast on purpose." Greg's face darkened. "We need to stop that anchor and get to the bridge, or none of this matters." A loud crash from the door interrupted them. The barricade gave way, and the first zombie lunged inside, a grotesque former vacationer with chunks of flesh missing from its face. Sarah reacted instinctively, driving her spear through its skull. Another zombie followed, and Carlos swung a frying pan with all his might, knocking it backward into the hallway. "Go! Get to deck 9, Greg yelled, holding the doorframe against the onslaught. The group sprinted into the corridor, dodging swiping hands and snapping jaws. The undead were everywhere now, their numbers growing with each passing minute. Sarah's arms ached from swinging her weapon, but adrenaline kept her moving. Reaching deck 9, they stumbled into the bridge. The room was a stark contrast to the chaos outside, calm, cold, and eerily pristine. Mia immediately ran to the controls, her hands flying over the panels. "The system's locked. Whoever set this course encrypted the commands. I need time to override it." "You don't have time," Sarah shouted, shoving a desk in front of the bridge door as more zombies began pounding on it. Greg scanned the room and found the emergency anchor release lever, but it was encased in a thick layer of reinforced glass. "It's manual. We need to smash this." Carlos grabbed a fire extinguisher, swinging it against the case. Cracks spiderwebbed across the glass, but it didn't give way. Mia, meanwhile, stared at her tablet, a horrified look on her face. This isn't random. Someone's controlling the ship remotely. They want it to hit the coast. "Who would do that?" Sarah demanded. But before Mia could answer, the bridge door burst open. Zombies flooded inside. Greg and Sarah fought them off, but they were outnumbered. Desperation fueled Carlos's final swing, shattering the glass. Greg yanked the lever, and the ship groaned as the anchors deployed. The sudden halt sent everyone sprawling. Zombies tumbled forward, giving the group a precious moment to regroup. "It's not enough," Mia gasped, struggling to her feet. "We stopped it for now, but they'll come back for the controls." Sarah nodded grimly. "Then we make our stand here." The survivors fortified the bridge, knowing the battle wasn't over. They had slowed the ship, but the cursed crews still held secrets and horrors that refused to be laid to rest.